Yeah. Can you hear me, Connor?
We can, sir.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Start to let everybody wander on in today. Ms. Mumford, can you hear me? She must have stepped away from or having up there. Mute, unmute. I see you, Connor. All right, we're going to let people kind of wander on in and keep admitting, admitting, admitting. Nice quiet day so far.
Speak for yourself. We had a BEC that happened yesterday.
I'd love to hear about that, Steve. What were the circumstances? Somebody clicked on a link that said, "Here, sign in," and what happened?
Um, well, it was actually not even a client, so that's the best part. We had a referring MSP that called us up that we've done some business with in the past, and they said um, one of the vendors got an invoice, a bogus invoice from them, and somebody had changed one letter in the domain and set up a whole domain, and so the vendor paid out $180,000 that was supposed to come to them. And I guess there is a an email. I think they're in the environment, in this customer's environment, because lots of their banking information, states are calling them,
Areas, right?
going, hey, did you change your routing number? And like the state of Utah called this customer, and I think this has been going on. They just haven't been smart enough to recognize the fact that they're compromised. So I've been up most of the night working with the IR firm, dealing with that. So, and really it's, you don't really do much of anything except sit back and, you know, mediate between the two parties and just wait. But so yeah, it's just so it's been a long day so far.
Well, the good news is that the sun's up now, so you've got another 24 hours before you get some sleep, or however that works, right?
You keep saying that, but I'm not sure that that's true.
Well, all joking aside, now at least you've at least met somebody else who's had a BEC, and if their current IT support system, IT support ecosystem isn't working out for them, I think they know somebody they can lean on to come in and do an analysis of their existence and tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing not so perfectly. So good
You
luck with
know,
that once the dust tells.
that's the best part. I told him, I said, there's two phases to this. The first phase is getting a clean infrastructure, right? And then the second phase is how do you want to protect it after that? And he's
That sounds
like,
like
just tell me where I signed. So
Oh,
Not
that's
only did
I'm
he
glad.
sign the managed services agreement, but he put the 10K down deposit for for IR. So
There's a silver lining to everything, Steve. There really is.
yeah,
As folks are kind of coming in here, I think our friend, let's see. By the way, guys, anybody who hasn't met me, my name's Anthony. I'm part of implementation and onboarding. I'm usually joined by our crack engineer, Ben Jones, but we mistakenly let him have some time off, and he's off getting sunburned someplace. So I'm glad for him. He'll come back energized. But usually he has some really interesting tech stuff to reveal, and he runs a bunch of stuff in the background, including like making sure people get admitted. So if you were sitting in the waiting room a little longer than normal, uh, that's entirely my fault. But Ben will be back with us in our next meeting in about 2 weeks. And anybody who's got any open tickets or anything with him, or then you're not getting any response, don't be afraid to reach out to me or reach out to your account manager. That should all be in Ben's standard email. But we're a small enough family that we're all kind of are covering for each other when we actually have fun events like, weddings and kids and vacations. And that's just going to be uh, for all the folks who have families. We're enjoying the time with them now, but I know that here come May, everybody's going to try to run off and go enjoy some vacation time with their families. So kind of budget that in. And please tell all the people that are out there, the bad actors, to budget that as well. We really like hearing from them in the shoulder season. We don't like hearing about it when we're on vacation. But sometimes when we're on vacation, it's kind of nice to know that the automation that we've built is out there doing what we built it to do, what we were going to do anyways. And I just got a phone with a great client in Ohio who was talking about he had a another ISP and break fix firm mostly, but who had some reasons to get out of the business and retire quite abruptly. So imagine you're talking to a friend, a friendly MSP that you know, who says, "Hey, by the end of the month, can you take over all of my clients?" Well, the answer is yes, of course, growth by acquisition sort of thing. But to have 2 weeks to do all that, he's been under the gun and he's been running around like crazy. And what he shared with me was as busy as he and his, I think, 9 or 10 employees have been making this happen, getting everybody transitioned over, not just from a billing point of view and the paperwork point of view, but getting their monitoring in place and everything else, he didn't realize how much, even in the last 6 months, he had come to depend on things like having automation, like the Respond module, running in the background so he could take his eye off that and go focus on growing his business. And as technical as we get with this platform, as much as we deep dive into the granularity of all of these events, I always like hearing stories about that, about how this has allowed me to let that run on autopilot and only bring to my attention things that are important while I'm building my business. And so, without Ben here to give us some interesting context on what's going on in the world, I thought I'd toss that out there. Has anybody else had any kind of similar experience where they've leveraged the platform by walking away and not paying attention to the minutia and letting automation kind of let them know when something really important was going on? Well, at some point, I'm sure someone will have a success story like that. Um, Steve, thanks for sharing that experience this morning and letting me go on my little good morning rant. Good morning, everyone. Um, Usually on these calls, we try to talk about things that are a little more on the technical side of the house. Does anybody have any questions about any of the new stuff they've seen on the platform? Because I don't have anything to demo today.
Hey, Anthony Spellman from Nero. How are you?
Always a pleasure,
Oh,
Roman. How are you, brother?
doing well. So two things I noticed that the Entra ID field finally got put in there. So I'm excited to build out some rules with that. And we're using Ninja RMM. I already configured Ninja for those Entra ID fields. So I'm gonna like to do that. And two, I sent you guys an email as well. And I guess that's more on a tech support, I guess, side, the Okta situation with double billing still going on.
Yeah.
So looped in
I on the Okta, I know
mhm.
that's has some visibility, and I know your account manager is aware that. By the way, guys, Roman is one of the ones that's test driving one of our new beta testing one of our new implementations for Okta, and found some really interesting things there. If you've joined us for the last couple of SASE calls, Roman had some great input there, talking about what he was seeing and some of those wins of the week sorts of things. But One of the bugs is that it tends to double bill for some clients. It's saying if Bob at is logging in using Microsoft, great. But if Bob at is also using those same credentials to log into Okta, Roman's getting billed twice for that. So we're working that
Uh,
out. It's a
yeah,
known issue. It'll be
the
a
only thing I see is the email is capitalized in Okta and it's not capitalized in Microsoft. So let's say the first letter, the first name, first letter, last name. I don't. That should not be an issue from what I'm
shouldn't.
thinking, but maybe it is. But that's
Yeah,
basically that. I looked at the Discord. Ben posted a cool thing about the Azure infiltration, the last post. So I created a rule on that, followed his example. Also, the Screen Connect bug going around this week.
there's a lot
For
of
on-prem
challenges with
though,
Screen Connect.
for
Yeah.
on-prem, well, we got hit, but good thing
Oh, did
is
you?
we had on-prem kind of older installation that we never bothered to bring to the cloud. The funny thing is, good thing we are using SaaS Pass for SSO, so they weren't
Hmm.
actually able to do anything. They
Huh.
edited that user's XML, but other than that, they weren't able to do anything because we are an SSO. We had no users. We had no local users at all. But good thing I caught it, shut it down, and we're waiting on Spring Connect to fix whatever they're going to fix. Well, Connect twice, I guess. And then we're
Right.
probably going to move to the cloud. And once we move to the cloud, I guess I could maybe SaaS alerts will integrate in the future.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's on our list. Thanks for bringing up the Discord note. I'm gonna post a link in the chat. Anyone who hasn't joined us there, we started to see some really interesting commentary going on in there.
Actually,
Some
been
great
super
questions,
helpful,
great
super
feedback.
helpful. I love the fact that it's almost real time, and I'm loving it so far. That made me
Thank
get
you.
a
I appreciate
Discord
the
account
feedback,
for
Roman.
that.
Yeah, for those of us who've been around, for partners who've been around for a while, we've been kind of struggling to find a good space. Some people just don't care about Reddit. Nobody wants to pay for Slack, and Discord seems to be a nice balance on that. And so we've had a nice groundswell of folks jumping in there with some really good content, great questions, and we've tried to, thanks for the feedback, Roman, be as responsive as possible. Great for some of those questions when it's like, hey, how would I configure this? And what have you done for that? Not the perfect place to ask for support. So anybody who has support, please email support at and reach out. And always CC your account manager for visibility. But thanks for that. Um, Glad that you brought up the Entra ID. Has anyone else started to play with leveraging the Microsoft Entra ID as part of their alerting? I think it's just how this call is going to go today. I'm going to keep asking questions and nobody's going to respond. Um, the idea that Microsoft is really getting very good about presenting things like the machine ID, the Entra machine ID, on a regular basis has been very helpful for us because, especially for those of you who are leveraging the Unify module, if I can see that your SaaS credentials were using Entra machine ID ABC123, and I find that exact same data was presented to your RMM on a historical basis through the RMM agent, then that gives me some very high confidence that the machine, the hardware, and the SaaS credentials are in the same spot at the same time. So there's some really interesting things we can do with that. And again, I would say start to think about what decision paths you might take with knowing all of that, and take a look at Discord and some of the stuff we're doing in the unified templates, and think about how you'd add that data in there. And this is the point where I solicit any questions and ask if anybody else has anything else to say. What's up, Eric?
Kind of tying into that Unify, I'm testing Unify, trying to do the auto mapping, and I'm running into some issues where things aren't auto mapping that I think should be. And I have a support ticket open. I was just wondering if anybody else had any tips or had run into any issues. It seems to be one of the things is we don't name machine names that are anything related to the username, so there's no kind of added positivity in the score, for that. So I think that's kind of one thing that's hurting us in some places. But just wondering
Same
if
here,
anybody
Rick.
else
Same here.
is having any sort of mapping issues, or if the automation is working well for Unify, because we see the value in Unify. It's just there's that initial setup there to get those mappings done. that we want to kind of figure out and automate the best we can.
Hey, it's Roman again. Right. So same deal with us. We name our computers with serial numbers. With
Mhm.
Autotune, autopilot rather. Intune autopilot
Yep.
names it with serial numbers from the get-go. So as they boot, it pulls a serial number. That's how they're named. So we're running into the same issue. Some computers do not get automatically mapped because of that. You know, it picks up the user sometimes. The problems we're running into is when we do have several clients that are still on old school AD on-prem. Those are the issues because you know the username sometimes does not really match what the email is, so we have to kind of go ahead and manually do it. But then I heard from somebody else that SaaS Alerts does not really pay attention to that as much. If you manually do it and SaaS Alerts can't figure out the logic behind it, it's not really going to alert on anything if it doesn't have like a confidence level. But the clients that we do have in Azure, most of them get picked up automatically. It's those computers that have multiple users logging in. We're struggling with that, but I think Anthony said it's coming where you're going to assign multiple people to the same device, right?
It's close. Yeah.
Perfect.
Anybody who's
Okay,
met
good.
Adam in our dev team,
Yeah, Adam. Yep,
you,
Adam was the
yeah.
one that said it. Yep, correct.
Adam is he says, you know, I don't want to make over promises, he is, but I am this close to having multiple users on kiosk machines or say a server where different admins log in, that sort of thing. He's really close on that, so he's confident that he's going to be getting there soon. Ronald, Mr. Stockwell, I appreciate you popping in saying you've done this manually. I know a lot of our partners want to have this data, and the automation that we have in the Unify module is good in a lot of ways, but it is a complicated world again because some people use serial numbers or the old Dell service tags type things, or for those of us who've got all the time in the world, we've actually renamed all those machines to match the company and the user's role and all that. Or like some of us used to, we would get one image and roll it out and clone that off to hundreds of machines. And so then that machine data becomes a little bit useless, not even useless, but harder to dig out. Um, so that is a moving target, but I really appreciate Eric and Roman. I really appreciate the feedback, and Ronald. I really appreciate the feedback on that,
Yep.
letting us know what's working and what isn't. We take
Yeah,
that all back.
we were naming laptops with users before, then we noticed there's so much turnover that one particular client that it kind of makes no sense. You know, after even a month or two, it's completely obsolete. The problem we're having is like, I'm looking at one right now, we're naming computers. So I we're naming computers with the serial numbers, right? So let's say the company role, so let's say engineering department, ENG dash serial number, but they get passed around. So a person leaves, another person gets that computer, etc. So now I'm looking at like 20 accounts on one machine. Some of them are older, some of them, you know, the people pass the laptop around, and I can only map one to the device. So having multiple accounts to the
It's gonna be
device would
big.
be great.
And Ronald, thank you all also popping in on the IPv6 on our dev call on Monday, where we, as a team, meet with our development team and all of our AMs and our support staff and everybody else. I know they've made some progress on the IPv6. I, to be quite frank, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I know that that is it's high priority for them, and they continue to dig into that. And I've got two different developers working with Adam specifically on the IPv6 thing. So yeah, I'm sorry, that's all the for MK. I said Mark. Um, I don't have any updates on there, but it is in progress. It is moving forward, and we'll keep you updated as we get any kind of traction on that. What's up, Steve? Oh, sorry, I thought you said something. Um,
No, sir.
yeah, all good, all good. Um, so yeah, Unify is moving forward. Our friends in the reporting world have got some new stuff coming, some new reports. Actually, I thought I saw that published to the platform this morning. It was a new report that Amanda had released or talked about in the SASE call that they were working the bugs out with on Monday, and here it is Tuesday, and I think it's already published to your production environment. So be sure and take a look at the new report that's there, which again I saw about a half an hour ago for the first time. So play with that. I'd love to hear your feedback.
Which one is this, Anthony? The name?
If you've got the console pulled up, give me just a moment and I will pull it up in my world as well. Thank you, Cloudflare. Yes, I am human. Yes, I am still human. The respond rule trigger report should end up giving you an idea
There it is.
of,
Yep.
yeah, the baseline about how often the respond rules are triggering. So you can, in more of a sales and marketing kind of thing, but nice overview about how often are these rules triggering? What's the efficacy of any one particular rule? And I'm of the mind that anytime I see any kind of an exploit, I'm going to build a rule to look for that. And I'm going to share it with all of our friends in our Discord and on our SASE calls and in the office hours calls, kinds of things. But if that rule doesn't fire for 6 months or a year, when it does fire, it'll save my bacon. And that's what I'm really concerned about is the things that we're seeing all the time. We're going to build a lot of high visibility rules around that. The stuff that scares me is the stuff that I've forgotten about from 6 months ago. So Rich, thanks for that. Rich is not seeing the Entra ID populating the RMM. Rich, please remind us which RMM you're using.
We are using the Automate, ConnectWise Automate.
CW Automate.
And
Okay,
the issue that
thank
we're
you.
finding is that the script that will give you that information behaves differently under the control of the Automate scripting engine. So
Okay,
it doesn't have the same sense of a logged in user. So we're exploring that right now. So if I learn anything in the process, I'll share it.
outstanding. Really appreciate that, Rich. And it looks like you're working with my guys on that RMM support team. So I'm sure they will dive right into that. They seem to be very eager to knock down any bugs or any challenges like that you find. So thanks for that feedback and thanks for taking that for a test
Uh,
drive for us.
yeah, just an update. I'm working with the support team that makes that helps us with the Automate,
Oh, on the
tools.
CW Automate side.
So they
Cool.
understand what I'm trying to do. So we're just trying to figure out if there's a way to kind of dig into the system a little bit better and try to figure it out.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. The guys at ConnectWise have been good partners for us. They've been very open about frank feedback, and we don't get that out of all of the vendors in the world, so it's always appreciated. While we're talking about that, Connor, if you could be so kind, because I don't have it at my fingertips, to post into the chat these the little bit we're trying to say about I want my SaaS sort of petition. Um, this is something that we're trying to take back to. We're trying to push this into the software vendors face in a couple of different ways. We think that the government is going to the government and insurance companies are going to require monitoring of software like we get out of Microsoft. I want at IAM events at the very least, if somebody's touching my CRM, my ERP, my accounting data, don't you think it would be nice if the stupid software vendors would tell us at least the locations and that? Thank you so much, Dana, for jumping in there. Anyone who hasn't signed that petition, I would really appreciate it if you take just 2 minutes out of your day and sign that. I'm starting to sound like an NPR pledge. Please just take 2 minutes out of your day. Um, but that's the kind of visibility that we have to have, right? And it's going to be required by law if we don't do it as an industry ourselves and smack the software vendors into forcing them to do it because they've got the data. They're just not publishing it, I think, for the most part. And because they haven't seen a need to. And we want to make sure they understand how we can better protect them and their clients if they publish this data, their APIs in a robust manner. So please click that link, sign it. We're not going to, spam you or sell that data anyplace else. It's just we want to be able to take this to software vendors and say we've got a groundswell of partners who manage clients in the millions by this, yeah, all this aggregation here, and we want to tell them how important this is. We just want to demonstrate how important it is to them, and again, try to get ahead of this before legislation forces somebody to do something in a way that none of us is going to be happy with. Box integrations is pretty far down the road, Roman. Yeah, I do have some guys working on it. He is on the pipe. I'm not working on it. He is in the pipeline. Um, our head of dev, Leron, you guys may have met on some of these meetings. Um, he has knocked out, he and his team have knocked out some of those longer term issues like the bugs and the polishing fixes that have had to come into play to do with compliance and the ISO 27001 efforts and things like that. And he shared with us they've knocked down about three-quarter of those. Now we have to do a bunch of this stuff to stay relevant and compliant, but as they get some traction on those, they're able to come back and go after some of these other applications. So I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you today. So for you or anybody else who does leverage Box on a regular basis, keep being squeaky wheels, man. Keep asking us about this. This reminds us
All
and
right.
allows us to take back to our dev the urgency of this. Sorry, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Roman. I thought you were about to say something. Um, Ninja integrations coming. That's again, that's an Adam thing. I wish he was on this call. But that is absolutely in the works. I keep saying that we're always working on stuff, but we are. I don't know if you guys have noticed when you log into the SaaS alerts, the very first thing you see up at the top right are the application updates, all the things we're doing. We've got multiple development teams all working on the different security silos, bringing your requests to fruition at different speeds, but we're working on them all because this is a very busy space, and we it only is that way because we've got so many fantastic partners like you. So, please keep squeaky wheeling, keep letting us know what's important to you. Um, Speaking of what's important to you, anything that we haven't covered that we can talk about, anything in the way of the Fortify module that continues to build out. We're looking for some new reporting, as Amanda sort of alluded to in the last week's SASE meeting. Anything else that in the Fortify part of the world that anybody's seen any success with or has any questions on? I love looking at the AI analytics of some of the calls where they talk about how many times you say in a in an hour or in a meeting, how much of the meeting is used when you're talking and the other people are talking. And the AI analytics, because I'm in a teaching position in the onboarding role, tend to leave me talking a lot. I would love for that to be a little different in this meeting. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns? Well, if that's not the case, I don't want to be rude, but if there's no input from anybody else, I'm going to give you about a half an hour of your day back. As always, we appreciate y'all stepping in and chatting here. Let me see if everybody's slacking me internally. Um, but yeah, any case, everyone, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all joining. Y'all have a great day
Mhm.
and look forward to talking again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.